Hey guys, welcome to Sopimix Studio Umbiamas, conectando Aruba com o mundo via vídeo podcasting. Conectar conosco, compartilhar ideias e histórias para nos inspirar e para conan abrir. Sopimix Studio é plataforma de podcast na Aruba. Follow-nos riba Facebook, subscribe riba YouTube, ou riba plataforma de podcast preferido. Escute o podcast preferido, que hora e onde que está. Sopimix Studio, powered by Credits, botiu ideia? Credits educava e prepara a abo para vir um empresário exitoso. De business plan, guia personal e préstamo para negócio até com 100 mil florim. Vira para mês donho com Credits. Subway. Passa na Subway para o sop, salada, wrap ou flatbread e mais fresco. Com 7 localidades rond Aruba. Nós está cerca de Ibo. Subway. Swing Masters. Organizando events, conferences of weddings, Mr. de luz, sound, staging, DJ, trussing of LED screen, Swing Masters está claro para ser boa fiesta éxito. Swing Masters. E agora, Sopimix Studio é plataforma de podcast de Aruba, está apresentar.
Yo, you don't know, we going global with this thing. Boom, top class, university, what a global opportunity. Aruba University, take part, come join me. Together for the local experience, spread we culture all over the nation. Let's build up the community, learning and teaching in diversities.
Hello, and good afternoon. Buon tardi.
Good afternoon, Sharice. I'm thinking, how excited can you be?
You know, when we're here at Sopimix, it's always exciting because we have so many fruitful conversation. But good afternoon, buon tardi, Turi, and there are viewers, our listeners.
Yes, and it is a wonderful Thursday, and it's a good moment to have a straight-up conversation about education.
A program sponsored by the University of Aruba, creating a platform where we can learn from each other's, our island stories, but also our experience, and we hope to empower you
To become lifelong learners. That's definitely my purpose as coordinator for the Center for Lifelong Learning at the University of Aruba. And my name is Deborah Alexander, and my co-host is
Sharice Hundeli, Coordinator, Students Affairs and Marketing, and we're happy to be here, bringing the university right home to you.
And we are bringing indeed the university closer by with two of our wonderful colleagues. Here they are.
Yes.
Just say a warm welcome, colleagues. Just say hello. Say hello.
Hi, hello. They're all smiles. They're all
Yeah,
smiles.
up until
Yeah.
now. So who do we have with us today? So we start with ladies.
My name is Francielle Lacle, and I'm also a colleague of Deborah and Sharice at the university.
And then we'll get into your program. And then we have the man with the wonderful hair.
Yes, right.
And our future co-host, okay.
Yeah.
No, my name is Diego Acevedo. I'm also a colleague at the University of Aruba working on research.
Yeah, and they both are working on research. So,
Yes.
I mean, everyone who has been listening in for so long and who are true fans of our program, Straight Up Conversation, you know, we start with the same question each time to break the ice because most people are nervous when they get on this hot seat.
And also we think that when you connect with each other, getting to know the person behind the profession, you kind of know that, you know, things don't happen. Is you have to work for it sometimes. Everybody has their challenges and opportunity. And by sharing that, we hope to empower you, our listener and viewer at home. But with no further ado, Francielle, what would your friends say about you? They're
So,
listening in.
Deep secrets. Let's check the chat if they're messaging.
So, full disclosure, I knew this was going to be the icebreaker, right? So, when I got the question, I was like, I don't know what my friends think about me. I should ask my friends.
And you see, that's where the conversation starts.
We always get by with a little help from our friends, no?
There's it. We're
So,
not in the world alone.
Yes. So what I heard is that I'm mostly a joyful person and tranquilo. So, papiamiento, tranquilo. And yeah, I just like to be a very positive person in my life. So I think that's in a nutshell.
Sounds a bit okay.
Yeah, but we also know, if I may indulge, she's very much attached to culture. She likes to work with youngsters. She works in she's also a member of Service Club. Am I right? Are we missing something here, Deborah?
I was Global
was.
Shapers for some time. Although now we are on a break from the group since COVID. But hopefully we might get back to it sometime in the future.
Could you explain to our listeners what Global Shapers?
So Global Shapers is a community of young professionals, and it has links to WEF, the World Economic Forum, and we aim to be positive, to bring positive change in our communities all over the world. So you get these hubs in all the cities all over the world. So like Colombia, where our colleague here is from, you have a lot of Global Shaper hubs because you have one in each city.
Oh, wow.
But for Aruba, it's one because we're so small. So we have Orionstad Global Shapers hub. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for
And we've
sharing
had
that.
some
But
nice
I'm still not
projects in the past.
satisfied with the deep, dark, and dirty from Francielle.
This is the University of Aruba,
I know,
but we
so-
do want to get to know
I'm
you.
sure there's something. There is, and there must be something about you. Do you
Or
write
maybe Diego will tell us
poetry?
if
Yeah,
she
maybe he
does it.
knows. Maybe there's something she does in the office. But is there something like, do you
Diego,
write? Do you-
Sakamikeshi.
It's like a vocation. But is it? Do you write? Do you sing? We had your colleague Amber. I know, for example, she's wonderful at singing, and we see her singing through the university. But there must be something that I don't know about.
I
you.
love
Or
singing,
sport.
but not like professionally. I just sing for myself in the car a lot.
Nice.
But I do love dancing. So I enjoy dancing a lot. And right now I'm trying to learn to play the guitar as well.
Wow.
Awesome. Why the guitar?
Yeah.
I think it sounds beautiful. I used to play the piano when I was a kid, but I always actually really liked the sound of Spanish guitar. So I'm trying to learn to play some type of Spanish romance.
In your busy life, just like for your downtime
Yes,
to
we all
enjoy.
need to
Very
relax, no?
good.
So you're
Yeah.
just stringing along, or are you like playing something already?
I can play intros of different songs,
Well, that's a start.
but I
That's
still
a
have to
start.
finish a full song. Yeah.
I think I said it
It'll
in the past. I think last year I was saying how my mom started at 65. She started going to
Shout out to
guitar
mom.
lessons. Yeah, so
Yeah.
at any age
Yeah.
you can just start. But
Find some downside and do something productive that you
Yeah.
love.
Yes.
Yeah.
so let's go to
Diego.
you, Francielle.
Yeah.
I mean, Francielle,
Diego.
Diego. You have had time. You've listened to her stories. So, what would your friends say about you?
Some of them will say that I'm also learning to play the guitar at the moment. So you're
Okay.
never too old.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're never too
Oh,
old.
so
to
we have a
pick up
So how
skill.
far are you? Because she's playing intros. So how far are you?
I can play Redemption song pretty well.
Oh, cool.
So that
Very
one's
nice.
there.
Show off.
That one came up, but that's about it.
Okay, you have
And
a
then you
headset.
strum some
And
stuff.
why the guitar for you?
Why the guitar?
Yeah.
I got it as a gift about 10 years ago, and it hung on the wall for about
Another 10. Okay,
6
sorry.
or 7 years. And then I thought, well, YouTube is there, and
Awesome.
you can always pick up a skill.
You're
It's right there.
So is there really
Nice.
true lifelong learners?
See
Because
that?
just going to YouTube, people think of learning as really coming just to a university or building and
Old setting.
the old setting. But learning is really about just acquiring new knowledge and skills everywhere through conversations as well. So what would your friends say about you then, Diego? Next to
What
the
would they say?
guitar.
So they probably that I'm a happy person, I think, and curious, and
But that's what you're doing your PhD, so I guess.
so that's,
it's-
for sure. And then that I do maybe I wear many hats, I guess. Let's
Could
put it that way.
you explain a bit for
So-
the viewers and the listeners?
I was thinking on the hair. I think it was for the hair.
No,
but I
I
was-
wear many hats in terms of activities. So I do a little bit of everything. Sometimes I get too anxious. I don't know, and then I start doing something new. Hence, for instance, starting a PhD. At some point in time, I said, "Well, this could be interesting to do, and there's an interesting question to answer, and let's try to figure out
Wow.
Okay.
how we can answer it."
Nice.
But I keep a couple of different things at the same time.
And we also know you give back to the community to serve social clubs where you are part of. So
Correct.
that's where I know
Yeah.
you from. Well,
Yeah.
amongst other
Yeah.
areas. Yeah. So
Correct. So that's what makes it a little interesting. So for my friends, I say, "Yeah, but I know you from this thing," and then somebody else comes in and then they say, "I know you from this." A lot of people say, "Well, they know me from sustainability." That came up actually yesterday. One of my daughters, friends, her mother came over and said, "Oh yeah, I know you. You're the one that's doing all this other sustainable stuff."
Whatever is that
also.
sustainable
So
stuff.
And that's,
But,
good thing that he
yeah.
mentioned that, because I was just thinking that was in the setting. I think he was the host of the TEDx some years
Yeah,
back.
correct. So-
It was also about sustainable. But that's going to be the theme, at the end of the second half of the conversation, we're going to look at the importance of small island development.
Yeah, but
developing
before we
states.
do that, we still want to know a little bit more in terms of your educational trajectory. Where did you go to school? What were your challenges? Where did you study? Enlighten the public a bit more.
Okay, so I grew up on Aruba, and so I went through my high school years also on Aruba. And after that, like most Arubans, to further our studies, many students go abroad. So I joined that group and I went to Holland. And I was pretty young, so at the time I was 17 and I had no clue what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So
Which
I
is
was just-
normal,
yeah, if
We
you're
get so upset when the
17.
kids don't know what they're starting, but we all were in that phase.
Yeah.
Continue, yeah.
So I remember we got this like book with the options of opleidingen you could do in the Netherlands and what you could study after that specific bachelor's. So I just kind of looked and I saw international business administration. You could do 13 masters after that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep my options open. I'm going to choose that.
That's a good one.
yeah.
So yeah, and it was quite an exciting time, first time being in Holland. And
Where did you go?
I went to
Francielle?
Tilburg,
lekker
Tilburg
Zuiden.
University. And so I did international business administration for my bachelor's. And during that time, I got to get some courses where I learned more about issues around the world. So, for example, I had a course in business ethics, also economic development course where they talk about more social issues or issues with how in certain countries maybe corporations are not doing things that are in having a positive impact on society or nature. And so I got very intrigued by this topic. And by the end of this bachelor's, I started to take many courses that were related to environmental issues.
Wow. So sometimes, like you said, as a youngster, you're not really sure, but sometimes just keep on going and, indulge in new things to see where it actually leads to. So then you finished your bachelor, then you continued, you went to your...
Then I found out there's this multidisciplinary master's program in Amsterdam. That's at the Vrije Universiteit. And so multidisciplinary meaning that we got people coming in there that studied, for example, philosophy or physics or law, and in my case, business. And then the reason why it's multidisciplinary is because environmental issues need to be seen from different perspectives to be able to solve them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a very nice master's program, like 80% international students. So I made a lot of international friends that I still keep in contact with, which is very nice.
So what's the importance of having all these friends? Because sometimes, we only talk about academia, you're studying, the challenges you have, but your friends, could you maybe just elaborate a bit on one of the difficult moments you had and that your friends help you, pulled you through it? Because in the Netherlands, you don't really have a lot of family. Everybody's back home. So
yeah, I think that's something that we need to talk about also more and more, like the mental health part of when our students go to the Netherlands. And I was lucky to have my older sisters already there, but I do see others that have struggled. And being in a multidisciplinary course, I know would definitely help students because you feel like you're not alone. They are also struggling with fitting into a new country. So in that sense, you connect also much easily within a multidisciplinary course with students from all over the world. Yeah.
So how transitioning back to Aruba, how did that happen? And was it planned? Was it?
I was 21, I think, when I was about to finish my master's, and
Wow,
I felt
Francielle.
like I wasn't ready to
Young.
work. So
At
I
21,
stretched
who
it.
is?
I was just thinking 21 and you
I
finished your
decided
master's.
not to graduate. So
You decided not to
I
graduate.
decided I wanted to do more courses, so I stayed
Okay.
You
one
know,
more year.
which is, for the viewers or everybody listening in, that's not a bad thing because when you're 21, you're so young. We always have this pressure, you need to finish, but then
Yeah, I was
you
21 or
don't have
22, and I'm very
opportunity
young,
to
yeah.
see the world. You don't
But
have
it's a bit
opportunities
contradict
to
because at
explore.
21 you're considered an adult, in some countries. You can drink, you can mix it, and now all of a sudden at 21 you can do certain things and I expect you to know everything.
Yeah, that's what I said. You need to
Yeah.
explore, and it's
Yeah.
okay. Parents, it's okay. It's really okay.
Yeah, I'm glad I took that year because besides getting extra courses, I also did internships to get to know different
Areas.
And internships, we've discussed it on the program as well, adds to your CV. I remember it was I think it was, what's her name that said that, Jocelyn, that, when you have a student who has like a CV where internship and have traveled, it says a lot about that student and the discipline and the drive.
Yeah.
And, you get a sense of what kind of a person you're hiring as well, I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's definitely a way that we are judged, people are judged by, but interesting.
So we want to go the transition to Aruba so we can get to hear Diego's story.
So I did an internship, then I got offered a job in Utrecht for a while, but I was living in Rotterdam at the time, and I didn't like the commuting a lot. That wasn't quite fitting for me. I wanted that to be my lifestyle. I think 3 hours I was commuting. Yeah. And so then I got an opportunity to get to work in Bonaire. So I actually did not move back to Aruba. I moved back to Bonaire, our sister island, and I lived there
that's
for
how I
some
met
years.
you,
So I think about 2 years. And what I did there is I worked with a consultancy on nature valuation because I had worked with them for my thesis before. So and that way you get connections. And it was a very nice time. And at a certain point, then I decided to move back to Aruba.
Why?
Bonaire is very nice and beautiful, but at the time there wasn't a community of young people staying for a long time. They would come and stay 6 months, move back. So there wasn't after 2 years, there wasn't really a community I could build around myself. And I thought it was time to move back to home be closer to my family. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. So, you see, as I really appreciate you highlighting really not knowing what to do. Sometimes we have these expectations from our youth, and sometimes some know and some don't know. And if they don't know, let us not pressure them. Let's try to embrace and give them different possibilities, So having said that,
No, it's a gap year. I think in the many conversations we've had, the gap year keeps on coming back as something that, and I think back then it was not heard of, but I think for the new generation, it's very normal for them to consider a gap year.
I always say if you have a gap year, but make sure you do something with it. So travel or but if you just go to work, you're getting some dead-end job and you're not getting paid much, well, then I would say, for example, you can go to the academic foundation or do some job shadowing or work somewhere in the field of interest. Because just having a gap year and just getting a job because you want some extra money, I think it's not so productive, but that you don't feel the urge that you have to go. But Diego, I'm excited to see.
I know your story is going to be interesting as well.
That gap year idea, just to continue on that, is usually helpful only when it's doing something that outside of that comfort zone or outside of that you're used to. If you just stay in Aruba, go to work for something that you've known, that doesn't bring you anywhere. There's no continuous learning on that.
Did you take a gap year? A gap something?
A gap something. Let's put it that
So
way.
he's thinking.
I'm sensing there was a gap.
I've taken many gaps. So everybody.
So let's start from the school. Let's start from the beginning. You were born in Colombia.
I was born in Colombia.
And you took a gap there.
And then let's put a gap there. When I was 11, I moved to the U.S. Just my brother and I moved to the U.S. outside of my parents. So that's completely outside of a comfort zone. We went to live with my godmother. and just to get the English and the American education. Let's put it that way for a brief period of time. Then I went back to Colombia, and then I started university. And I started right away when I was 16 years old. I started on my bachelor's of mechanical engineering. And I was young, so at 16 I was like, okay, I'm young. I'm doing this engineering thing. And I thought I liked the languages, so I started learning German while I was doing my bachelor's. And so at some point in time, I decided, well, I want to take a break and move to Germany. And so this was about my second year of my bachelor's, and I took about 9 months out.
And I want to make sure that everybody knows this is a program sponsored by the University of Aruba. So those of you who just tuned in, this is Straight Up Conversation about education. Every Thursday from 3:30 to 4:30.
This is Straight Up Conversation about Education, a program sponsored by the University of Aruba.
So Diego, as you were saying,
So I moved to Germany when I was, I think it was 18 years old or something like
And
this.
where in Germany? Because
Berlin.
oh, nice.
Berlin. So I moved by myself. I was on a Colombian passport at the moment back then. And I decided to move there, went to the embassy, looked for the papers, decided to fill up everything, looked for, because it was a gap year, but it wasn't. So I tried to look for
I have questions.
job.
yeah.
I have questions.
So we're just talking about 21, but wait, let him finish up.
Let him
Let him
finish,
finish up.
So I tried to look for something that would be, productive. Let's put it that way. So something that I would say, I can live. And so I went to do an internship, and I sent in my papers and my motivation. Basically, I had I had limited experience. I used to work when I was in university building computers and doing things. So I had saved up a little bit, not enough.
But still.
So I went to work at Motorola there
Oh,
as an intern. So
for those who don't know, Motorola was the first. Let me just explain.
Like a cell phone.
It was the first cell phone. The first cell phone.
They used to make radios. And they still make all the
right.
radios for like the police and stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
So I used to work there, and
How old are we?
so this was quite a bit ago. This was the year 2000 basically,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
and then that. The
Okay.
amount of people that I met there, all the different experiences, plus I was working, plus getting all of this, it was a nice breath of fresh air out of okay, this is really, I like the technical world,
Area,
and so I
yeah.
said, okay, now I'm going to continue working on my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and then I went from there. While I was there, I thought maybe I don't want to go back to Colombia. Let's put it that way. And so I thought, let me try to figure out if I can go somewhere else. And my brother was living in Florida at the time, and so I said, well, maybe I can go close to where my brother's living. So I applied at the University of Florida, and then I got accepted. From there, then I had to do all my visas and all these other things, fill out a bunch of paperwork, and
Wow.
ended up in Florida. And from there, I graduated from my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. So I went there. While I was at the university there, I saw, there was all this research and all these people working there. And I took a job as a research assistant. So while I was there, which was great, I was able to get a job. And because I was working as a research assistant, I got money back from my tuition, plus was getting paid. So it was a good
combi.
it ended up being a great combi. So that was just looking for those opportunities.
How are you as a kid? Just curious.
How was I as a kid?
Yeah.
Curious.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's
I
like
was-
the right word. You just said it.
I was. So one of the few memories of being scared as a kid I remember is one day I took apart the plug from a lamp. I must have been 5 or 6 years old. I don't know how old. So this can't be that difficult, but those plugs that just go in the wall. It had a little screw, and so I took the screw apart and I took it apart to put it back together, but I couldn't put it back together because my motricity wasn't great.
So parents out there, when you see a kid doing that, just look at Diego.
So I
Just
got
where you can
remember
end
this
up.
conversation. Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
so I got
Let him play
I
some
remember
beats,
that
it's
being
gonna be
scared that I was gonna
okay.
get caught that I took this thing apart.
I'm actually curious. So how does this story end for you? You are there with a plug and you're trying to do something and
And
it's
it
not
goes
going.
like,
And then,
Diego.
Mama.
See, this is the problem. I remember the being afraid. I remember how it got resolved. I think I finally was able to either hide the thing and nobody found it,
Because
or
if
I
you
was able to
You
fix
see,
it.
Yeah.
This is
Deborah, that's where the Bob Marley kind of everything is going to be
is
okay
that-
kind of
correct. And so this has been my philosophy: is you can always find a solution. This is one.
Really,
know,
really
everything's
great.
going to be all right.
If you're listening in, sometimes I think we have to trust our kids a bit more. As our parents, sometimes I think we're too afraid of the unknown, and you want to protect them, but sometimes you just have
But
to let them
encourage
go.
curiosity. I mean, I
Yeah.
was curious and I asked a lot of questions. My mom always saying, I won't say the word, but it's quite often we're like, okay, you're asking too much. You're a bit, rude.
Or like, where are
and,
you now?
just this is for grown-ups. But I think fostering and understanding that every child in a specific phase have, questions
Their
that they
own
want.
questions.
But
yeah.
I had a question. Your mom allowed you and your brother to go abroad, and then I was thinking when you went to Berlin by yourself. You
18.
are doing. I mean, going to the embassy is not. I assume, did your parents go with you? Did
No.
you really?
Just me.
Because we
That's
see
very impressive. No?
Very
It was
because
yeah.
I don't want to leave it sound as a negative thing, but we see at the university a lot of parents come with their kids to register and participate, and you would feel many kids and parents also travel to the Netherlands with their children and prepare them, but sometimes it's that independence and that trust and letting go.
I think that's what's important is to trust. You just said that word. Is as parents, I'm a parent now, so I have my daughter. Is to trust.
Let me see what it looks like at home.
To trust that they can take the right
Yeah.
decisions, or that we,
Yes.
as we go on, because otherwise we don't learn. There's a lot of learning by doing. There's a lot of
Correct.
making mistakes. These type of forms. I mean, in the end, sometimes I say, no, you can't make a mistake. Yes, you can make a mistake. But then you learn from it, and then you foster that capability of doing things on your own, and that, as a parent, that's how I see it. I want to see
Totally
that
agree.
if I'm not there, is my
They're going to do
daughter
it
going to be
anyhow.
able to be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the time because we do have a
But I
really
want-
topic. But I want to know how did you transition to Aruba?
Oh, yeah,
Just so
cool.
every because you were in Florida, Berlin, then you went to
Yeah,
Florida.
so
and-
that was a gap. So that's where I met my wife. She's from Aruba, and so it was about 20 years ago.
Okay.
And so that was the Aruba connection. That's it. So
Okay,
it's
that's
about
Florida,
20 years,
Aruba. She brought you back. She was like
20
Diego?
years coming here. And then I
okay.
said there were a couple of gaps, and so I'm going to fast forward this really quickly. So between the bachelor's and the master's, it took me about, I think it was about 8 years or so between finishing my bachelor's and deciding
working and
to
doing
make a
different
master's. So I went to
projects.
work and I kept coming to Aruba and doing different things. And then at some point in time, I decided, no, I wanna change. I wanna do something else. I wanna keep learning. I wanna try to understand this world that I don't understand. This was energy at the time, and went to do a master's, and worked on that. Graduated from my master's in Delft, actually, in TU Delft.
Okay, so then to the Netherlands. Okay.
So I went, so there was France in between. So there was a lot of moving around. I'm a little bit of a nomad. In Aruba is the longest I've been anywhere. That's a place.
No wonder you have
It's
kids
Aruba.
here and you're here settling down.
So from there, from the master's, then I took another gap, and now I'm back. So I'm a researcher and I work at the university, but I'm also a student doing my PhD research. And so after I think it was also about 7 years or so, but a little bit more, decided to go back again to try to understand something else that I didn't understand before.
Wow,
in
Deborah,
more
I
depth.
know you had a burning question. So
Well, that was the
Let's
burning
see.
question was about the role of his parents. Really that trust. That for me was really like, wow, because I think most people struggle even filling in a simple paper these days. So I'm thinking all embassy papers, requirements. Even in that process, I could remember going through that process is not often an easy one. It's not like you fill in that paper today and you get it tomorrow and it's stamped. There's a lot of back and forth concerns, anxiety. Am I going to get it? And maybe I'm making a bigger thing about it.
I'm an optimist, and this is a problem that I have, I think.
no, it's not a problem. I think it's to our advantage because when we left too in those days, you didn't have anybody to help you. Most
Yeah,
parents,
because-
you know, now everything, you have the Aruba house and you have that, but those days it was like, here is your bed, here is your bike, you know, like get whatever you need to do, find the offices and do what you need to do. So,
It's
but
finding
I
that
do,
balance, I
yeah.
think. So it's finding that balance between allowing and giving people the trust to be able to succeed and do and
Yeah.
live on their own. So for instance, you were talking about mental health. Mental health, if somebody's out there on their
Yeah.
own, it's not about doing everything for them.
Right.
It's about helping them do their own
Yeah.
their own
And
things and
giving someone trust is a way of support.
Yeah.
Because if you also learn to trust yourself, and even if you did make a mistake, you learn that that's okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, life goes on. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, like they always say, fail often. Fail often because then you lose, but give people room to fail often. Don't punish them. Too often in our society, you are punished if you fail. You're punished if then things go wrong. And if you encourage them from, okay, let's try it a different way, you will, foster that curiosity as well and looking for options. But
So, I mean, so now we have a very good idea
Yeah.
about, the optimists, gap years. So let's talk about what are you doing at the moment, because you're both busy with your PhDs
and how
Okay.
that ties into the topic.
and that ties into the topic. So
Yeah.
what's your research about? We know it's a system, so that's what,
Francielle.
Yes.
Yeah.
System. So SYSTEM stands for Sustainable Island Solutions in STEM. And
And STEM is
STEM is science,
technology, engineering, mathematics.
it's a mouthful.
Yes,
Say the
it is.
whole
Super long.
acronym.
Yeah. So it's a new program at the university. You can say it new. We have our bachelor's program now going on third year,
Yeah.
third
Mhm,
cohort.
that's correct.
And tied to that, there's also PhDs and the PhD students. So both me and Diego are PhD students within this program. And we also teach. So we teach in the bachelor students, and we do our research on the side. So like it's not completely 100%, but you can divide it kind of like 20% we're teaching and 80% we're doing our
But that's
specific
expected as well.
research.
If you're a PhD student, you should be able to
Yes.
teach the students. Yes.
The idea is that it's like capacity building for the island. So we are learning ourselves, but we are also teaching the new generations.
Awesome.
and what's the
Awesome.
topic?
My topic is social innovation and just resilience in small island social
wow.
ecological systems.
Okay, so now, hi
Let's break it
viewers,
down.
are you still with us? That
Yes.
was a mouthful. So could you
I will
break it down so everyone can understand you?
Yes. So
Or you have to print a T-shirt. I don't know.
walk with it around.
Yeah.
I like that idea, Cherie. It's very good.
Yeah,
Very
not
good.
bad.
It's not bad. We can do it, yes. We'll do it as marketing plan for system. So this research I'm doing is in the field of what you call environmental sociology. And environmental sociology is a field that deals with the interaction between societies and the environment. And the environment can be human-built environment or natural environment. In my case, my PhD is focused on the interaction with the natural environment, and then specifically in the context of small islands. And then to go a bit more in depth, I mentioned the word social innovation. And what that means is I'm looking at how citizens on islands are doing socially innovative things to try to counteract nature degradation.
Okay, give an example.
Yeah, I was just
An
Because you
example
did, you
can
had like
be-
a couple of
yes.
workshops. So if you can give an example what you did and what the outcome was.
What I've done until now is I'm doing my field research. So I'm talking to many of these different initiatives that are going on islands. And my cases are both Aruba and Bonaire. So I'll be going to Bonaire soon also. But you get a lot of citizen initiatives, like even youth groups. Like you get Scubble Bubbles that have started.
Yeah.
They're trying to do coral reef restoration. And you have much older ones like Steam Aruba who have been on the
Yeah,
island
there
for a
forever.
long time.
Did you know I made a theme song from Aruba when I used to play the flute? But
Cherie says,
anyhow,
what have
side
you not
note.
done?
Side note. Nice.
Yeah.
Because I know Scubble Bubbles works with youth.
Yes. So
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
different initiatives working on different specific areas, maybe an
Nice.
endemic species, maybe more broad, some working on circular economy and waste, I remember when I talked with my supervisor, she's like, waste, what does waste have to do with nature? But she comes from a continental big country. When you're on a small island,
It's right there.
waste
It's in
Let
our
us
face.
not
always
talk
has an
about the
effect on the
waste.
environment.
It's in your
just-
face. It's in your
Yeah.
face. It's in your face.
So what I do in practical terms is I speak to different stakeholders in society. So not only the initiatives, but also journalists. I will speak to politicians, and I will try to understand what I call then the socio-political processes that are going on in the environmental governance landscape of islands.
So are you also trying to make them aware of the problem and what people are already doing? And are you trying to help the groups how they can be more sustainable or more practical or more efficient?
So one of how I see my research is also falls under the bigger umbrella of sustainability science.
Okay.
And one of the aspects of doing sustainability science is doing applied research, meaning that it's a research that will be used in society. Most of the time we're working with stakeholders. And one of the things that I want to do is also in some form present back what I found to the stakeholders and then find a way to move forward. So many times you also get in my field that not everything is already set in stone for the research. It kind of develops along the way, depending what is seen as necessary for the community. Yeah.
Are there any resemblance between Aruba and Bonaire?
I still have to see. Yeah, I'm going to Bonaire in April.
Oh, okay. You haven't
So
done
soon. Yeah.
And because that was actually my thought, why Bonaire and not, for example, a Curacao?
Yeah.
or
which is-
Venezuela.
There's a couple of like more practical reasons for like money wise. I can't go to all of the islands. I wish I could, but there's a big contrast between Bonaire and Aruba, and and so Bonaire has developed quite differently. The tourism development was different. Aruba has mass tourism. Bonaire has kept a bit small. So it's that like I'm trying to see what the comparison is there. Yeah.
So those of you who've just tuned in and listening here, this is Straight Up Conversation about Education, a program sponsored by the University of Aruba, sharing island stories. This is Straight Up Conversation about Education, a program sponsored by University of Aruba. So that was some music just to refresh the air. So yes, you were saying, so you're looking at Bonaire.
Yes. And Bonaire, for example, also in terms of environmental laws or having their marine park, they've developed that quite early in comparison to Aruba. So they've had their marine park since the 1970s.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So beautiful.
And Aruba has their marine park officially since 2018.
Oops.
Yeah, there's a big difference in how
And
the
Curacao? I'm
environmental
curious.
landscape. Curacao, I am not quite sure. They have the Christoffel Park and Karmabi, but I'm not sure if it's like considered a marine park. I haven't dived into that one.
Because it would be interesting, comparing the islands.
Yeah.
But,
The
you know,
ABC.
but then you sit in the same office with Mr.
Yeah.
Diego. And are you talking
So-
about the same thing? Are there similarities? Or is it...
Oh, just for anybody listening, if you have questions or comments, please put it in a comment box and let us know, and we can put up some links there if you want to learn more about her research project, or you may be able to help her in any way. So just
And
remember,
we forgot to say our website, www.ua.aw, is the place where
yes.
everyone should go to find out more about system as well.
Yeah.
And, they can mail the system email, but if they have other questions, just send to cll@ua.aw.
Yeah, and just look for Francielle Lacle and she'll pop up,
She'll
and
pop
you can send her
up.
questions. So Diego,
There you go.
what is your research about? I'm curious now. Again, that word.
Yeah, so my research, it's officially titled Valorization of Reverse Osmosis Brine.
Another
And then
mouthful.
it's another mouthful, which basically we can break it down into what value can we get out, what can we sell, basically, out of the waste that's coming from the water production facility. So from the desalination.
Oh, wow.
So we take a lot of ocean water, we put a lot of energy into it,
Yeah.
and then we pass it through these filters, and we get nice clean water. And behind we have this brine, which is just concentrated salty water
Yeah, that goes back.
that goes back. My research is into, we put all this energy into it. Why can't we recover something else of value for
And
specifically for Aruba, but also for other islands, because desalination is a topic that keeps
coming
Coming
back.
up.
increasing.
There's islands in the Mediterranean that they've used up all their water
Exactly.
resources, and they have to move now to desalination as well.
So that's one of the issues when we look at sustainability. Most of the world has been looking into we're going to run out of water, and this is what
Yeah.
everybody's worried about. We're going to run out of energy. You know, the war is a big example of this, right?
What's going on right now?
We're going to run out of everything. But when we sit down here in Aruba, we say, right, we ran out of everything a long time ago.
Yeah.
All of our energy
That's
is
a
coming
way
from
of
outside.
looking at it.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
not. Yeah.
We're just not aware
All
of
of
it.
our food is coming from outside. All of our
Right.
water is coming from the ocean. So we have a lot to teach the rest of the world, and if we find these type of nice innovative solutions, then
When we had the conference in the UX Explorer, I think it was in February, March, we had a whole week of
I was just gonna
conferences.
say,
And one of the things I remember you saying, when we as small islands can teach so much to the others.
100%.
So for
Could
someone
you elaborate a bit
on
on
that,
that?
and I
Because-
just want to say, for someone wondering what Charisse is referencing to, we
yes.
had was it on the 7th of February this year, we had a conference on climate change, and Diego did a presentation. So if you can go to our YouTube channel from the University of Aruba and look for climate change symposium conference, and you just look through it, you'll see Diego's presentation a bit more elaborate than what he can share with us
or
right
on
now.
our website as well.
And
You
our
will find
website,
that information. Yeah, so continue.
So on small islands, one of those things that, outside of that topic, on all the things that we can teach is most of us are forced to wear different hats, like I do. I wear different hats, but a lot of us are doing different things because on an island there's a scarcity of resources. We all need to pull our weight on different things, not necessarily just being a specialist on one thing, but we can do a lot of different things, and those networks that we can build on islands of people that are working, for instance, in sustainability. I find it nice to be here with Francielle. I think the first time we met was about 10 years ago.
Yes, we met.
When you just finished school.
We actually did
Straight up conversation brings
we were
people
both
together.
students in the Netherlands, and we got asked to do a pitch for the government of Aruba.
Yeah.
And we both had like different projects in our field.
Yeah.
My project
Awesome.
crystallized 5 years after that, so people just keep persevering.
Correct. So this is
See, something we learned we didn't know.
No.
You know.
and because we've been involved in this world of how do we make our islands a more livable place for our children in the end, and for ourselves as we get older, we end up crossing over, not just in Aruba but in all the other islands. Like, I know somebody that's working on a topic that that could be of interest for you. So this morning I see something, I send an email like, this is going on in Bonaire since you're going to Bonaire. But this is happening all over. This type of networks that we're building are not. I'm a mechanical engineer. My PhD is on chemical engineering, but still everything crosses over.
Yeah,
Even
that's the new education right now. Having a different hat.
Multidisciplinary.
And in islands we can see that much more easily than on bigger continental areas. Our networks can become much stronger in that sense.
Can you share with us a bit about your PowerPoint presentation at the climate conference? Because I know there were a lot of complicated things and solutions and suggestions. Can you just run us through in 1 minute what
or the most practical one, because you gave a few suggestions for Aruba. We were listening, man.
That's why I know they were complicated graphs.
You gave like 2 suggestions. I think was for Aruba. Simple things that we can already start with, because I think this program is also to educate our Aruba public. It was about the desalination of water.
Yeah, correct. So
we made notes.
Ocean for me is one of those things that I feel we just have there, and a lot of us on islands. We're not just in Aruba. Most islands, people that live on the island live with their backs to the sea. People that live on the island, normally people are too busy running their lives. They barely get out into the ocean. Most kids on island don't see what's beyond that sand line, right? Like what's under the water, what's that richness that we have.
Ocean thermal energy.
And that's something that I worked for quite a bit. So that was ocean thermal energy, for instance. We have this big, huge resource there that can give us energy, that can help us with our water resource. that can help us grow things in a place that we're not able to grow certain things that we're used to eating now because of this globalized world, right? So that's a big potential that we have out there, that we should explore and make it ours, and not just wait until somebody comes in with a solution from outside and gives us something.
Yeah, as if it's new to we don't have all the resources, but we have all the brilliant minds. And sometimes I said it just takes someone to take that initiative. And before Deborah, I don't know if we can pull up that the PowerPoint presentation that I have, but we will see. But while we're trying to work on that, you talked about Tony de Brum. Usually everybody would take someone who's from all over the world, big world. And you took, when they asked, who's your idol, who do you look up to, you said Tony de Brum. Could you just explain who he is and why?
This is a guy from a small, tiny atoll in the Pacific, from the Republic of Marshall Islands. So that's a collection of atolls, right?
Small islands.
And so this person, he passed away a couple of years, unfortunately. But I talked to him. I've talked about him during that conference as an idol, because he is coming from this small little island, and he achieved many different things on a global scale that would have seemed unachievable by anybody on an island, right? So he worked as really the architect of that Paris Agreement, of that ambition. So he was just this one guy from an island who was a minister from the Marshall Islands, going to these climate conferences and yelling at everybody, basically, in a positive way, which got them all together. So he formed a thing called the High Ambition Coalition, which is what actually got that Paris Agreement to be an ambitious agreement. So limiting the temperature change to 1.5 degrees, which before they even brought that to the table, it was always thinking 3 degrees. So it was about double. And so he basically just got the right people around the table and said, this is what we have to do. And this is a guy just coming from a small little island when we're a bit privileged. When he was growing up, and so I had different conversations with him, because and especially with what's going on now with Ukraine and Russia, he was one of the really big guys on nuclear non-proliferation. So even from this small tiny island, he grew up with the nuclear tests on the atolls there. So he grew up seeing radioactive falling, material falling on the beaches, right? And so this is a guy that then goes to The Hague and says, no, we need to hold countries responsible. He took, big France to court, big UK to court, this type of things. Just a guy from an island.
So the message is we from the island, we can do. So if you would look at the finding reveals that states are faced with several serious environmental challenges, most related to climate change, including sea level rise and loss of biodiversity and ecosystem goods and services. So if you from a small island would gather all the ministers here, and I'm going to ask Francielle and I'm going to ask Diego, what would you say from low? Mensen, this is it. These are the top two things we really need to pay attention. And I hope they're listening in at the moment. So, Francine, you have some time to think, Diego, because we are here to educate, but also to share knowledge and also to invite you to have this discussion. And of course, Center for Lifelong Learning, they are the person to organize different conferences. But what I mostly like and lectures is that when you have those interactive groups, because then we learn what, the community is thinking about and where the worries are. So having said that, Francielle, looking at all the difficulties we're facing as SIDS.
As SIDS, so on a global level, I think definitely climate change is our biggest threat. And then if I focus in on Aruba specifically, I would say that we could improve communication channels. And I think that it is happening already, but we should just keep working on it to improve the communication channels of citizens, being able to participate more in political forums, and not only giving the opportunity, but also teaching citizens and
education.
empowering citizens. I think that's important too.
So what course would you like, Deborah,
CLL to
to
organize. Actually, maybe we should organize together.
yeah, I would love
because
that.
can anybody, because this is always a question, I mean, no, ting bachelor, mi po by CLL pa kurso. You always hear
Anyone
that
can
people
follow.
are afraid.
Yeah, so I mean, CLL has its purpose enabling growth within the urban community, and then it's not only professional growth, but I think personal growth, as we've heard in many of our conversations. It's when you personally develop, that's when really the impact even comes. There's a bigger impact. So anyone can register, join our mailing list, and they can attend free if it's a lecture, or if it's a paying, they can participate. So people don't be afraid to come out to us. Come to the university.
Yeah, send us an email, cll@ua.aw. So Diego, we're going to have a meeting next week. So what are we going to be telling me? So I want to look at it on a global level, but very much on the local level, and I want you to break it down to that.
So I tend to agree climate change is probably the biggest global threat that we have. And we can attack it with good solutions, right? So we can attack it with sustainable solutions for energy, for food, for water production, that resource recovery. So,
I want you to break it down a bit more.
Right. So this is a global thing, because that helps the economy. When we attack that problem in a way, for instance, in Aruba, if we come in and we say we're going to take the lead, and we're going to really look into our energy production. What are the possibilities that we can do, and how can we turn this into a positive business where the people that are working on this are working in Aruba and then are able to disseminate those solutions outside. And that brings us some economic development, right? And instead of sending money out of the country, then we can save it. But locally, I think that one of the biggest issues that I see is education, 100%. So it is about
education.
Education is about, but
at all levels. We're talking about all levels.
At all levels, and starting from the bottom. We have a lot of social issues that needs to be tackled from the base. And we need to make sure that the educators that we have out there, they're in the capacity to be able to take care of others. Sometimes they say, what is it when you're in an airplane and they say, well,
put your mask on first.
In case of an emergency, put your mask on first, and then help
the kids.
It's very similar. We need to make sure that those educators are there. They're in good capacity to be able to help those kids carry everything there, that we're really understanding what those problems are in the society, and that we don't lag on being able to provide the solutions that are needed for education. Sometimes there's a lot of infrastructural issues. There's a lot of just governance issues around the education system that needs to be fixed. And that from there brings us all to another level of prosperity that will come. That's a little bit longer term minded, but we need to attack it.
We need to attack both. We need to do short term.
Cycle.
Correct. Short term and long term. It's not and or, it's both. But let's look at the short term. What would you tell those at home listening right now or at work? Because we had our IT Glenrick, and he was talking about the emission of gas and the digital
footprint.
the digital footprint, and he goes like, simply just send less emails. That was just like, and then he explained, and it seems to be one email was the weight of 1 kilo of banana or something like that, but it was very complicated.
But we had your colleague Amber.
Amber was here.
About the
so he was saying very, very simple as, send less email, don't leave your AC on because that AC needs to cool down. Right.
Yeah.
I think on the personal level, there's a lot we can do. I think the waste issue is a big issue overall, whether we're wasting just because we're sending too many emails that are not necessary, for instance, and that becomes a global issue, or whether we're buying too much packaging or putting too much things where we don't need them. That's a big issue. But that can be addressed with the right policies, sometimes with the right incentives. So if we are just aware of the costs that these things have to us, and we address those costs and put the taxes where they belong, right? Right now we're taxing across the board.
Yeah.
But if we put the things that are polluting to our environment, the things that are not good for us, that we have to spend a lot of money on fixing,
Yeah.
if we put those costs in there at the beginning, or have them visible enough for the consumer to make the choice of, I'm not going to pay for this, right?
Yeah.
That gives a better incentive.
Yeah, and I think it's. I want to recommend everyone to go to our YouTube channel, again,
Yes.
website, to see his presentations, because I'm looking at, you had solutions are abundant, but what's needed, and you had culture and political mind shift, innovation niches. He's like, my presentation,
Yeah.
update
It's
to
on the
legislation.
line.
That was one of the points that you did mention. Enable risk takers, structural and financial support, partnership, as example with system, and indeed long-term vision, and the human element, the need to reverse brain drain was one of the.
I'm a firm proponent in entrepreneurship, in allowing people to come up with solutions and allow them to flourish. And I see that here we have some sort of a culture where it doesn't.
But I think it's
hindered
also
a little
related
bit.
to this fear of failure. Because in order to be innovative, in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to feel safe to be able to fail. And if people are going to judge you in a small island, or they're not giving you the space to
fail,
be creative.
We discussed that, didn't we, Cherise, the
It
other
becomes
day?
it becomes
Yes,
a, it
and
becomes a culture shift.
I think I'm a bit
That's
like
slowly
Diego. He's speaking. I was like, Diego, I think we need to organize a competition at UA and let people come up, pose a question, and then see what solutions they have, because hopefully he'll be doing some tech talks for us through a TikTok. Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Some TikTok as
maybe
well.
if they can, put in a TikTok on finding a solution in 3 seconds, that would be genius. So
Competitions
maybe,
work,
Hey, we're sharing
so
your ideas here.
maybe-
You're sharing your ideas.
Yeah, but that's okay, because it's only going to happen at a university. People are
Thank
going to go like,
you.
they're first. I said, we're always first at University of Aruba, because we have brilliant minds, and I'm just looking at the time.
I was just
going to
say, Cherise, time is ticking. So I think on that note, it's a nice way to round up this conversation, this straight up conversation about education, a program sponsored by the University of Aruba. Thank you, my lovely and dear colleague, Cherise, for, helping us co-host this, because it's nice to do it together, but I think it's nice also when we see the interaction with our guest.
Yes,
And
yes.
you find the link, and I hope that those listening in at home was inspired as well, and want to become lifelong learners, not only in playing the guitar, but in
not only the guitar. The guitar is a good start.
That's a good
Right.
start. New
And
start.
again, find time to do something different, remain curious. And, as I say, once again, if you have any questions or comments you would like to make, or you want to, help Diego set up a game, or whatever, we're excited, because we need you. Yes, Aruba citizens, we need you. We need everybody. So before we end this wonderful conversation, I'm so inspired again. We started with energy, now it ends with energy. Diego and Francielle, what would you like to say? These are your closing words for straight up conversation about education.
All right, so I want to say thank you to Cherise and Deborah for this invitation. It was very fun.
Thank you.
And I hope it was informative for the audience. And if you feel like you want to share something, or you
Please
want
do.
some information, I'm always free. You can find my information probably on our website.
Yeah,
Otherwise, just let a comment below this post.
and we will contact you.
yes.
Yes. Thank
For
you
sure.
so much,
Thank you,
Diego.
Diego.
Yeah, I echo this. Thanks, thank you for having me here. But I would say to everybody out there, and it sounds cliche, I guess there's a big advertising about this. Just stay curious. It's
Right.
there is never too late to pick up
There you go.
anything new. I mean, here we are trying to learn to play the guitar, but anything new that you can do, like learn how to fix
Learn how
something
to
in your
dive,
house.
join Scrabble Bubbles, clean
Learn
up
how
the
to dive.
ocean,
Correct. There's
do some
always-
research. Yeah.
Kill
the
there's always
lionfish,
time that can be made available.
Correct.
Sometimes we think that time is not existent.
No, time is what you make of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, having said that, thank you so much once again. This is Straight Up Conversation about education, a program sponsored by University of Aruba, and we hope to see you next week, Thursday, 3:30
Right
p.m.
here on Soppy Mix.
Yes, and on
Shout
all
out.
social media channels. Check us out on our Facebook, website, and our Instagram. Have a really good afternoon. Bye.
Yo, you don't know. We going global with this thing. Boom, top class, university. What a global opportunity. Aruba.